In this mini lecture, I want to review the difference between a preparation and a delivery outline. So let's just go over some basics of the preparation outline. As the name implies, the prep outline is what you use when you prepare for the speech. This is going to use full sentences. It's going to be very detailed. As a general guide, someone who did not prepare the speech should be able to deliver your speech. Now, I'm not saying that they would deliver it well and it would not be extemporaneously, but they should be able to deliver your speech from your preparation outline. That's how much detail you're going to have in that. You're going to make sure that you label all parts of the speech and the different aspects of the speech in the preparation outline. But you will never, ever, ever use a prep outline while you're delivering the speech, because if you do that, you're going to end up reading that. And this is not a situation where it's a manuscript speech. I don't want you to memorize everything. We certainly don't have teleprompters. We're delivering these speeches extemporaneously, which means we have prepared them very, very well before we deliver the speech, and we're going to know the information very well, and it's almost going to be like we're having a conversation with the audience to share the information that we have. So just to reinforce the parts of a prep outline, let's go through those. We know at the top of the page you're going to have your name, topic, your specific purpose, and for the informative speech it would be, I want my audience to know, and then fill in the blank. For a persuasive speech, it could say, I want to convince my audience that, or something like that. And then you're also going to have the central idea. Here, if you use a previewing central idea where you are including your main points, that goes very nicely then into the preview for your speech in the introduction. So talking about introductions, we now know that there are 4 parts of an introduction. The attention getter, something to get our attention. Many people use a quote in the introductory speech because that's what I use, but there are many, many different ways to get our attention. A startling statistic, rhetorical questions, telling a story, painting a mental image in the audience's mind is a fantastic way to get attention. Audience relevance, what's in it for me? Why should this audience care about your topic? Why should they care one bit about what you're going to be talking about? Start to lay the foundation for that in the introduction. Speaker credibility. How are you credible to talk about this topic, and why is this topic important to you? Maybe establishing some connection between you and the topic. Even if your topic is how to make a pizza or the history of pizza. Well, have you eaten pizza? Have you ever made pizza? Maybe pizza is your absolute favorite food. And that would go towards establishing speaker credibility, which then is also done throughout the speech. And finally, you're going to have the preview. This is where you tell us about your main points. So again, 4 parts: the attention getter, audience relevance, speaker credibility, and preview. Make sure you label all of those parts together on your preparation outline. And if you are combining attention getter, say, with audience relevance, which could happen if you're using rhetorical questions, and that's fine to do that, just make sure you label them together, so attention getter / relevance, and that lets me know that you recognize that you have both of those parts there. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you transition to the first main point. Looking at the body, we want to make sure that the main points are clearly identified. Don't just have main point 1, main point 2. If your speech is about pizza and you're talking about the history of pizza, ingredients in what we think of as common pizza, and then variations about pizza, that's how you would label your main points. The subpoints are well developed and mostly full sentences. These are not just bullet points. Now, admittedly, there may be times where they are just going to be some bullet points, and that could vary from topic to topic, but by and large, these are going to be fully developed sentences. You're going to write your sources in the outline as oral citations, which means this is with enough information that we as an audience member or as a listener can quickly determine, where did you get the information? So the author, the name of the article, if you got it online, if you got it in a book, if you got it in a magazine, what was the name of that website? Those would be kind of the similar to kind of demographic information. And then also, why is this source credible? So if you tell me John Smith wrote an article in the New York Times, well, who is John Smith? And just a little tiny piece of information about John Smith. And that little tiny piece of information can make the difference between me thinking you had a good source, thereby it being credible, therefore making you seem more credible, versus kind of creating internal noise in my head where I'm asking questions like, well, who's John Smith? Well, why should I believe John Smith? And now I've missed parts of your speech. You also want to make sure you have transitions with internal summary and preview in between those main points. Now that I've told you a little bit about the history of pizza, let me tell you now about the common ingredients that you get in pizza at your local pizza place. So a little summary of what I just did and a preview of where I'm going. Okay, moving on to the conclusion. Remember to transition to the conclusion. This is a signal that tells your audience you're coming to the end. Summarize what you just told us. This reinforces your main points, and you could elaborate a little bit more in the summary. This is one final opportunity you have to reinforce your main message to your audience. And finally, end with a memorable closer. Now, these two pieces are enough for an informative speech. In a persuasive speech, we're going to add a third piece to this. But with the closer, you don't just want to leave us hanging. Unless you're doing a speech about Porky Pig, you cannot just say that's all, folks. So something, and if you can relate it back to the attention getter, that's fantastic. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends what you choose to use. You're going to want to include your works cited in your preparation outline, and you can use MLA or APA format. Just using a URL is not enough. This part here that says one CRAAP worksheet for each source. In a blended class, I have not implemented CRAAP worksheets yet, but if I were doing that, you would want to use one CRAAP worksheet per source. Okay, just some features about a preparation outline. For a 7 to 10 minute speech, an informative, 7 to 10 minute informative speech, or even that long of a persuasive speech, the prep outline could be anywhere from 4 to 10 pages. This is going to depend on your spacing preferences. You use, single spacing, double spacing, how many subpoints do you have, the depth of your main points. A variety of factors can go into play there, but that's kind of a ballpoint. There's not necessarily a minimum or a maximum page requirement, but you want to make sure you prepare a speech with enough depth and breadth to increase understanding. So not too much in a speech, but certainly enough that we understand your topic. And this is certainly a very tremendous responsibility as a speaker. Now, as I've said before, I'll say it again, never, 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 ever use your preparation outline to deliver your speech. Once you have that beautiful preparation outline prepared, you have read through it, you have kind of practiced with your speech, you know that you're within the time limit of the speech, you have asked people, it seems like your information is, you explain things enough that people can understand. Actually, after you get all that done, you're going to take that preparation outline and you're going to put it into a delivery outline. That may mean that it's on a piece of paper or two. That may mean that it's on note cards. So what do you include in this delivery outline? Well, you want the introduction and you want all parts of it, but this is just going to be keywords. And so if you're telling us a story in the attention getter, do not write out the entire story. You should know that story inside and out. And it's, conceivable that every time you deliver the speech, there might be slight variations on that story, but the general idea is still in play. Put all those pieces of the introduction. Again, it's a quick reference for you to be able to glance down and to remind yourself to cover all those pieces. In the body, you're going to use bullet points or keywords. No need for words that are not necessary. You do, though, want to write your oral citations. How are you hoping that you're going to say your sources in your speech? And I say to write those into your delivery outline because you, if you need to, can glance down, look at that, and even read it if necessary. Also, be sure to include your transition statements because it's going to be a signal to you. Now, do you need to write the whole thing out? No, but you could write maybe in another color or use another color transition as a visual reminder that you want to do that. And then with the conclusion, again, all parts, but just keywords for that. The purpose of this delivery outline is so that you have something to refer to throughout the speech. We know you need to know your speech inside and out, but sometimes you might get nervous, and the delivery outline serves as your guide through the speech. And as I said, oral citations can be included in the delivery outline for easy reference. Whether you use note card or whether you use paper is really a matter of personal preference. I myself use note cards. I try to use only one note card per topic area, per main idea, and even within main ideas they may be broken down into other cards. So as I said, what works for you is going to need to be determined. You can do this, you can practice using them, but here are a few tips or suggestions. So one, if you have that prep outline, underline or highlight the keywords, including any direct quotes and oral citations. Then you can transfer those underlined or keywords to note cards and use only one idea per card. Now you do want to limit the number of cards you have. If you come up and you have 50 note cards, it's going to seem a bit overwhelming. So again, I'm not saying to you, well, you can only have no more than 10 or you have to have at least 5. It really kind of depends. But you want to make sure that each card is clear, it's readable, and it's uncluttered. If you basically print out your prep outline, cut it up, and tape it onto a note card, that is not a delivery outline. That's still a prep outline that you're using to deliver your speech. If you do use note cards, number those at the top in the corner. In the event that you were to drop your cards, you would be easy to put those back into order. Again, use only keywords and phrases. Do not use full sentences unless you're doing direct quotes and or oral citations. You can also include reminders to maybe advance a slide on a visual aid so that you remember to do that. I often have students who will forget to advance their slides, usually because you don't practice using them too much. So that's certainly something you could do at home, is practice delivering your speech, kind of sit in front of your computer. It's not going to be exactly the same, but then you could practice with advancing your slides. And I've even had students who have noted on their note cards reminders about vocal qualities or gestures, something that they, some trigger that they want to use to remember. And finally, practice while using your note cards. You've practiced while using your preparation outline to make sure you're within the time, to make sure that the areas you covered make sense to other people. You've done all that, but now practice at least a couple times using those note cards so that you get a handle of how to use them. So follow those steps in trying to go from your preparation outline, which is a full detailed outline that anybody could pick up and know exactly what you're going to be talking about and almost be able to deliver your speech, to note cards or maybe a page or two on a piece of paper, that delivery outline that you use just as a reference. And if you need any help along the way, of course, you can always ask me.